Hey everyone, Emmanuel here. Okay, great week of training this week at the club. As most of you know that attended this week, we did a lot of work with the rope. Now, wanted to give you some of my reflections with the rope, okay? Because rope training, anytime I work with a weapon, I try to see how or reflect on how that weapon can help or aid my development as a martial artist or as a Systema. And it does it on many levels. One, it starts you to look at weapons as tools. So as you noticed, if we looked at how we started with the rope, we started stretching with it, we started moving with it, we started running with it, we started wrestling with it, we started swinging it at each other and moving out of the way, and slowly allowing the use of that tool to start to be seen as a weapon, but understood first as a tool. And if you use anything long enough, the attributes of that tool or that weapon will start to slowly osmote into you. You'll slowly start to kind of have an effect on you. You'll start to see how, like as I started swinging around the rope and realizing how it can articulate in any direction, my arm started to kind of mirror that. And no different than people, right? If you hang around a very positive person, you start to think positive things. If you start to hang around a person that's quite angry, you get angry. The weapon can start to influence you, and then you can start to influence the weapon as well. So it was really interesting watching everybody training with the rope and being a little bit uncomfortable because it's different, right? You don't often work with it. We've worked with chain before, and we will work with chain as well. But the weight of the rope, and also because it doesn't hurt nearly as much, we don't have that factor. We can just really focus on its movement. And there is something to be said about lightness, so that the rope is much lighter than the chain, so harder to feel. So no different than working with a light stick versus a heavy stick that's of the same shape. So there are some sticks that are super light. I have them at the club. And there are other sticks that are made from like redwood that are super heavy. So nonetheless, not to digress here, it was wonderful watching you guys work with the rope and how it started to slowly influence your work in the way you worked with it. It's really interesting that way. The other perspective I want you to look at is how it connects to people. So the physical rope connected you, but in many cases we can remove that rope, and anger or when you connect with somebody that you're unhappy with, it can seem sometimes like the connection is as strong as that rope. So I always tell people fighting is basically a mutual misunderstanding between two people. And you're connected by that. You both thought you saw something one way, but neither of you saw it the right way. So the rope is a connection, but we have that without the rope when we're emotional, when we get upset or angry or frustrated. That connection is just as strong as that rope. So it's also interesting to see that we have a physical manifestation of something that will be there but not physically. So I don't know if you felt that, if you saw that. I also like how just for a moment my brain had to slow down and absorb the newness of this thing, the newness of like, wow, I haven't worked with the rope in a long time. Many of you haven't worked with it at all. And there's something really special about that I don't want a complete change. I like little changes, and little changes because I want to detect and be able to detect subtle changes as well in my learning, in my training, how these little changes can sometimes be all that we need to continue along the journey, right? And I infuse these into my training all the time. Every week I try to work with a different weapon or a different tool, whether it's a rope, a stick, a knife, gun, a ball, something that is quite different, and it just adds something to my training. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this week. Please don't forget it. I mean, we might change and we are going to change next week and do different things, but the lessons are still there. Okay, the lessons are there, and that's really important to me. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please think about it and try to keep those feelings. I remember in seeing some work from some of the, they weren't instructors, I don't know, they're just footage of students like long time ago. We're talking when they're just VHS tapes. And I remember how limber and how loose their arms and legs were. And the comment to me was, you know, when you have heavy boots on, you don't need to work with the muscles of your legs. You can just start to learn how to move those heavy boots. And I was intrigued by that, so I put on my big old heavy boots. I went outside, and sure enough, I got the same effect. But I never thought about that. And I wonder how many other things we haven't thought about. Have we thought about using a rope and then mimicking the rope actions and mirroring that in our arms to see how they'll grow? So hope you guys learned a lot out of this week. I'll try to do these little videos on the training so that everybody can hear them, because I know sometimes people miss classes and they don't always see all that's happening or was learned, and I don't want people to miss out. So we'll try to collect these, I don't know what you want to call them, meditations on training of some sort. Anyway, I will leave it like that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And if you have a rope at home or a belt, play with it a little bit. Play with it, you know, maybe not hit people, but at least play with it a little bit. The ropes I got at the club, I just bought them from Home Depot. They're okay. They tend to break down quite easily, but any thick rope like that is good. It's better to be cotton than some of the other coarser materials tend to even fray more. That's it. So try to get one of those ropes and practice with it. It'll help you a lot. It's great. You can do so much with it, okay? Talk to you soon. See you next week, everybody.